first part of the head and neck is the scalp. It is the rule of the anatomy. Any part you want to discuss or study about the anatomy, you should know the arrangement of the bones in that region. So we know that the head and neck region relies on the skull bones. So a cranial cavity is formed by the flat bones, that is called the skull bones. As you have done the brain, you know what is the frontal, parietal, occipital. So these words, they resemble with the lobes of the cerebrum you have done. So first of all, we will do the skull bone. So all the bones of the skull, they are called the diploi. Anybody, what is the meaning of diploi? What is diploi? You are almost finishing the head neck, but you don't know the first line of the first day of the skull. So diploi means when we cut any bone of the skull, it is made up of this structure. So skull bones, they are example of the flat bones. Other flat bones in the body, they are the ribs, sternum. So this flat bone of the skull forming frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal, all the bones, they are the example of the flat bone. It consists of the outer compact bone and inner compact bone, and in between there is a spongy bone. So this pattern of this bone is called the dia, means two tables, outer and inner, they are made up of the hard or the compact bone. Sandwich between the two is the soft and the spongy bone, which is rich in bone marrow. So such an arrangement is called the diploi. And any vein which is draining the diploi is called the diploi vein, because bone is also a living tissue. No doubt it is the hardest tissue of the human body, but still a artery supplies it and a vein drains it. So any vein draining the skull is called the diploi vein. Now first of all, we will discuss the scalp. We know scalp is covering our uppermost part of the human body, or the skull, which is called the vault of the skull. So this is called the vault. The highest point of the human body or the skull is called vertex. So first we will study the superior view of the skull. And when we view the superior view, what word we use? Norma verticalis. Norma verticalis means superior view of the skull bone or the skull. So this is the superior view of the skull. So make a diagram in full page. As I am drawing the line, follow me. This will help in your exam also how to draw any diagram. So this is the outer layer of the skull, norma verticalis. So this is the sutural line. All flat bones forming the skull or cranial cavity for the lodgement of the protection of the brain. The example of the two bones meeting together is called the joint. And which joint it is? Sutural joint. They are the special joint of the body. Sutural joint. And it is of fibrous variety. Fibrous variety. As one bone is there, other bone is there, both margins, they are irregular, they fit into like this. So such a joint is called the sutural joint. And if you see closely, it appears that somebody has stitched with the machine. So stitching pattern is called the sutural joint. And some bones are there which are surrounded by the sutures. So such a bone is called sutural bones. Then you see there are certain holes are present in the skull bones, especially in the parietal bone. So when the holes are present which go through and through, if you put a wire, thin wire, and it passes through and through, such a foramens in the skull, they are called emissary foramen. Emissary foramen. Emissary word means emission. In the radioactive elements, you have said there are the alpha, beta, gamma rays. They are what they are doing? They are emissions. So same is the word we are using in the anatomy, which goes through and through. The skull bones is called the emissary foramen. And if any vein is passing through them, they are called the emissary vein. Or any artery, any vein. So there are so many emissary foramens are present. In the base of the skull is also present. Norma basalis. The largest emissary foramen is called foramen, and there are other smaller ones. Foramen ovale, spinosum, lacerum, so many more. So they are all examples of the emissary foramens. Some are bigger, some are smaller. So then the front bone is called the frontal, and two parietal bones either side, and posteriorly the occipital bone. So they are all joined by the fibrous joint and sutural joints. At birth, sometime you may find a line in the middle of the frontal bone. If it is present, it is called metopic suture. Label it in the diagram in your copy. Everything is not given in your book. Metopic suture. So metopic suture presence represent that frontal bone has also been developed from fusion of two bones, like parietal. And in some of the individuals, it persists for 40 years. Or after 40 years, it disappears. Or in some people, it disappears before that also. So such a suture in which the frontal bone meet with the two parietal bone, so this suture is called coronal suture. Coronal suture. And this plane of the human body is also called coronal plane. If we cut the human body like this, longitudinal section, this is called coronal section of the human body. Parallel to this, here, 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 anywhere. So if it is like this is called the coronal suture. Or any brain or any organ inside of the body, if we cut like this, is called coronal section, parallel with the coronal suture. Similarly, two parietal bones, they are joined together by the sutural joint. This is called the sagittal suture. This is called the sagittal suture. And this is also called the sagittal plane of the human body. If we cut the longitudinal section of the human body from head to toe, like this, then it is called right and left, two halves are there. So such a section is called sagittal section of the human body. Or if any organ in the human body, if we cut parallel to this line, this will be called sagittal section of that organ. Maybe brain, maybe liver, maybe spleen, anything. So this is the two, so these are the general terms you have to use. But they are very general, but they are very, very important in further study of the anatomy. Then behind there is a lambdoid suture. Lambdoid suture where the occipital bone meet with the two parietal bones. So lambda word we have seen from the physics. Formula of the wavelength is V is equal to n lambda, if you remember. So lambda word we have taken from physics book. So lambdoid suture, it resembles Y shape, lambda like. So this is how we see this. Now when a baby is born, at the junction of the coronal and the sagittal suture, there is a quadrilateral area, diamond shape area. Make it diamond shape, exactly like I have made it. Diamond shape means 4 regions. So a diamond shape area is present here. At birth, there is no bone is formed here. Bone is absent in this area. And this area is called bregma. and its dimension it is 4 centimeter in length and 2 centimeter in breadth. Dimension is also 4 by 2. Similarly, at the level of the lambdoid suture also, here bone is not formed. And this is called the posterior fontanella. Posterior fontanelli. Or bregma is also called anterior fontanella. Anterior fontanella. So, when the bone is not developed in this region, if you put the finger or the thumb in the newborn baby here, you will find it is soft. And all around it is hard. Because already bone formation has started. But not here. Here if you are touching it, it means you are directly touching the brain. Covered by 3 meninges, endosteal layer of the dura mater and the scalp. So this is the what is called the bregma point or the anterior fontanella. And this point is clinically very, very important for a physician or a doctor in many ways. So we have to write down how it is important and why it is important to a physician, or what it is clinical significance. So if a question comes, write a short note on the bregma. Any theory paper you are writing, first your heading should be introduction. Any answer of any theory question, first heading should be introduction. In the introduction you have to write down 3-4 lines about vague idea what is going to be written, or what is bregma, what is anterior fontanella. Nothing clear, but you have to fill 3-4 pages, 3-4 lines. So this is how to fetch the marks in the theory paper. If you are very short in writing, the marks will be short. So you have to make essay. If there is a 4-number question, it means you are expected to fill 4 pages. If 3-number question means you have to fill 3 pages with a diagram. No anatomy question or answer should be written without diagram. You write 6 pages, nobody will read. If you make a well-labeled color diagram, you get the more than 50% marks. So every day you have to bring here colored pencils. Whichever color I am using, you have to practice right now in the lecture theatre. Then you will understand what is the meaning of the diagram in the anatomy. So you have to practice every day 5 or 6 diagrams of anything. Close your eyes, open your notebook or white paper, start drawing anything you have read till now. Superior lateral surface of brain with Salsai-Garai, diagram of internal capsule, like this. At random, every day you have to make 5 diagrams, then you have to go to sleep. Then anatomy will be on your fingertips. You read so much up to 2 o'clock in the morning. You got up in the morning, 8 o'clock, everything will be finished. You have seen it. Anatomy is a different subject. It is something artistic subject, like the physics. Everything is specific, like physics. Definition of momentum, wavelength. You change single word, 0. Same is the anatomy. You can't change yourself. Anatomy is fixed from head to toe. The God has made it. You can't change it. So you can't make it wrongly. So this is how to study a subject. Anatomy subject is a different. But if you go systematically, it becomes easy. So what is the clinical importance? Then you have to write down the second heading, clinical importance. Number 1, age assessment. This is how to attempt the question. You have to make heading and subheading, because this is in your mind that we have to expand our answer. You have to fill pages. So first is the age assessment. This bregma, when you touch at birth, is soft. When it becomes hard, at which age? Anybody? When you touch and it becomes hard, at the age of 1.5 to 2 years. 18 to 24 months. It takes time. not days, months, underline. If you touch after 18 months, bone is formed. It becomes hard. Or at the most after 24 months or after 2 years, bone is fully formed. So just by touching this bregma or anterior fontanella, you can diagnose what is the age of the child. Come to a doctor for any reason, fever or vomiting or diarrhea, or we don't ask what is the age to the parents, what is the age of the child. Just by talking with the parents, what is the problem, our hand moves on the head of the baby and we just put here. If it is hard, it means age is more than 24, 2 years. So this is very important point for the age assessment. Number 2, if the anterior fontanella is depressed, if a child comes and if you put the thumb here and you find that this is downward or concave or your tip of your thumb is fitted into it, it means CSF is less. And why CSF is less? Because child is suffering from severe dehydration. Severe dehydration. Because of the excessive vomiting may be there, excessive diarrhea may be there, or excessive sweating in the summer. So child is very small in the surface area of the body. So any type of the fluid loss from the body will cause the death. Very quickly the child dies because their water content is very less. So it is a severe type of the dehydration. So we have diagnosed just by seeing the fontanella a very severe disease of the patient. So that is called clinical importance of this small area, that is called bregma of the anterior fontanella. Reversely, if a child comes whose anterior fontanella is bulging like this, it is convex upward or bulging, again it is a sign of some disease. Which disease? Anybody? If the anterior fontanella is convex, it's suffering from hydrocephalus is the disease name. Hydrocephalus. And if you see the hydrocephalus, hydro means fluid. So some newborn babies are born with excessive CSF formation. Excessive CSF formation. What is the hydrocephalus? Is the condition in which CSF production is much more as compared to the normal. So CSF is a large amount. So in that case, the anterior fontanella of that child is like this. The diamond shape is enlarged and skull is also enlarged. Because CSF inside the ventricles of the brain, they are filled with the overfilled, and brain has increased in size. Like you make a balloon of Holi, to make it water in the balloon like this. So head of the baby is like this. So when a baby is born and with the shape is like this, and eyes are like the sunset sign. Sunset sign of the eyes. You usually, when our eyes are there, this is the cornea position. But in these children, the eye is like this, as sun is setting. Just by seeing the eyes of the child, we diagnose that he is suffering from hydrocephalus. And his anterior fontanella is bulging. So that is the clinical importance. Third importance of this is that this anterior fontanella is very useful for neurosurgeons. Neurosurgeons. So what is the treatment of the hydrocephalus children? So neurosurgeon, what they do, they put a rubber catheter here below the scalp, and another end of the rubber catheter below the skin of the neck, they go to the external jugular vein. So this is the operation. So it is very important for the neurosurgeon, that a operation is done, and this operation is called shunt operation. Shunt operation is done by the neurosurgeon, in which a rubber catheter, one end is introduced into the, surgically introduced into the anterior fontanella. The another end of the rubber catheter is put under into external jugular vein that you have read in the posterior triangle. Same external jugular vein. So what will happen? This is called shunt operation. That we have shunted the CSF from the brain into venous circulation. Ultimately, this jugular vein will open into brachiocephalic into the superior vena cava, then into right atrium. Because the pressure of the CSF is higher than the venous. So water always flow from higher to same is the pressure. So there is a pressure gradient is there. Pressure of the CSF is higher than the venous. So slowly and slowly CSF will be coming into the venous blood, and head of the size of the baby slowly decrease in size as CSF is draining, and after 6 months the size of the head becomes normal. Otherwise the growth of the brain will be hindered because of the CSF. The brain, the gray matter and white matter will be thin, and the development of the brain will be defected, and the child will remain a small baby if age is maybe 18 years, but his mind is only 8 years. So he will suffer from cerebral palsy, slow development of the brain, or very, very slow development of the gray and white matter. So that will be the problem. Another clinical importance of this bregma is the vaginal delivery. So during childbirth, what happens? During childbirth, what happens? The size of the skull slightly decrease in size because of the presence of anterior and the posterior fontanella. There is a slight overlapping of the bones, which minimize the size of the child, and the easy delivery of the child is possible. So this is a plus point of this anterior and the posterior fontanella for easy vaginal delivery is helpful. Then another clinical importance is CSF collection. For example, we want to test the CSF in certain diseases, meningitis or other viral diseases of the children. Then we can take the 1 ml of the CSF from here also. For the diagnostic laboratory, people can take it with the full aseptic condition, because we know only scalp is covering the brain. So this is a very important point below the age of 2 years to collect the CSF for diagnostic purpose. For diagnostic. Then 6th point you have to write is the ventriculography. Ventriculography. In this condition, if sometime we want to see the ventricular system of the brain, then we put a radio opaque dye into the anterior fontanella by syringe, and then we take the X-rays or the CT scan. So that can also diagnose any tumor intramedullary inside the brain or outside the brain. So it is also used for the diagnosis of the tumors also. Then it is also having the medico-legal importance. Medico-legal importance. If somebody wants to kill a child because of some personal rivalry or some other thing, he or she may puncture the anterior fontanella with some pin. The CSF will be leaked out slowly and slowly, and the child will die with the brain death. Because we know CSF is not just a fluid. It is a nutrition to the gray and white matter of the brain. It is a secretion, not excretion like the urine. So it is very important. So anybody can kill a child from here. So that is these points. Whenever a question of the Bregma comes, then you have to elaborate these 7 points. Then you get the marks. You can fill 3 or 4 pages of the answer of only Bregma. We are just starting the first question of the head and neck. So this is how to prepare it. So try to note the notes making in the classroom. Not of anatomy, physio, bio also. This will give you the practice of speed of your writing. Spoken words, how you are writing each and every word of the teacher. The practice will be right now in the lecture theatre, not at home or in your hostel room. So lecture theatre is the only optimal site for the improvement of your speed of writing. Otherwise you will say, I have lost 2 questions, 3 questions, half question. So this is not an excuse. You have to make your own speed. Some are very slow in speed. So this is how to make it. So this was the clinical importance of this single point, that the Bregma, or called the anterior fontanella. Another thing you have to write down, or the study of the skull, is the Norma occipitalis. Norma occipitalis. Without this knowledge of the skull, you can't go further, because each and every point of the bone has got certain names, and these names should be on your fingertips. Then only you can study what is called the anatomy. So Norma occipitalis means posterior view of the skull. When we view the skull from behind, what are the features? What you see here, you have to draw also, and you have to study also. Draw like this, how I am drawing. Because the main problem of the student come to me, what they say, that we don't know how to start the diagram. We know we want to make the diagram, but from where we start the first point or the line, this is the only lecture theatre where you have to understand how to draw the diagram. So this is the Norma occipitalis, or posterior view. This is the sagittal suture. Is coming, forming the lambdoid suture. The sutural joints. This is the mastoid process. Mastoid process. Put your finger behind your ear. Which bone you feel? This is mastoid process. So these are the mastoid process on either side. Why they are called the mastoid? Because they look like the nipple of the breast. Mastoid word means nipple of the breast. Look like. And this is the triangular, is the occipital bone. This is the end of the skull. So this is how the lines. And this point is the asterion. This is the temporal bone. Mastoid bone is the part of temporal bone. This is parietal bone. This is the occipital bone. What you see here, features. We find here there is a raised area of the bone here. Somewhere here in the middle. Feel it in your own skull here, in the midline, just above the neck. This is called external occipital protuberance. External occipital protuberance. And from external occipital protuberance, 2 lines are going convex upward up to the mastoid process. They are reaching and end at the mastoid process bilaterally up to mastoid process. So you have to bring tomorrow all skull, and you will mark the external occipital protuberance and the superior nuchal line up to the mastoid process. See, it is going here up to mastoid. This is how to mark. When in the practical exam we will give you the chalk and you will say mark the superior nuchal line. Then you have to mark line. Who will make only here will get 0 marks. Who will make up to the mastoid